Welcome back to Screen Zen. I'm Jason, and we're talking about Undertone. This movie shows you how horrific an MP3 can truly be. Directed by Ian Tuason, starring Nina Kiri and Adam DeMarco, a podcast host covering spooky content moves in to care for her dying mother. When sent recordings of a pregnant couple's paranormal encounters, she discovers their story parallels hers, each tape pushing her forward towards madness. The first thing I'll say is that the sound design in this movie was absolutely awesome, and I think that's the point. You're really just listening to some of these horrific things that are happening, but there were certain points of the film where you didn't know if you were listening to what was in the headphones because they hinted that things were happening, creepily around the house around her. And I thought that was a great touch. If this movie ever gets nominated for anything, it will definitely be sound design. Bravo. So we're talking about a lot of older records being played in reverse. You're hearing things, and it was some point in the movie that they kept doing it, and at some point I felt like I was being cursed. And it's just different. Using sound to try to build a sense of horror, a sense of fright, that's different, and that's something that I haven't seen before. So I did appreciate that attempt. Unfortunately, I had a lot more gripes than I did likes. You have to do more than just, shock me with the sound in order for me to be impressed. The sound was just disturbing. Creepy sound here, you're hearing the creepy reverse thing, and then what? The podcast element was something that I actually haven't seen before, and it was mostly focused on her listening with Adam DeMarco on the other end, strictly audio, right? So the whole podcast thing was something that I'm glad they did. When you're listening to a podcast, it is all audio, so it made perfect sense. But Nina Kiri's character of Evie was almost like a skeptic in terms when she's listening to the recordings, when she's talking to Adam DeMarco, who plays Justin. They're going back and forth just on the audio files that they had. She was a big skeptic. Like, oh, that sound might have been this, or oh, it might have been something else. I'm like, well, all the creepy stuff was happening within her house. All I'll say is, I would never sit in the dark and listen to a creepy podcast. No thank you. There was only one trope that I actually saw, that mysterious religious statuette that just appears wherever it wants to, and you put it in the most creepy spot imaginable, which is by itself, dead center in your closet. Yes, you were asking for it. But the thing that I didn't like the most was the waiting. Like, for an hour and a half, we're listening to the audio files, creepy sounds, things going backwards, and we're trying to piece the puzzle together. And then, for that length of time, nothing happens. It wasn't until maybe the last half hour that the creepy stuff really happens and even involves her mother. And I think this is where they start to parallel the recordings with what's happening in her real life. I'm not gonna hold you. I gave this movie a 2 out of 5 stars. It was great. With the audio, the podcast, those things are different. Those things you don't regularly see in a horror film. But the waiting, it took so long for what I feel something to happen. And even listening to the tapes and the backwards music, I thought something was going to happen when she replayed it or something, but then we didn't get anything until maybe the last half hour. No, I don't think that the banter between Evie and Justin were that good to kind of hold me. I was, again, trying to figure what was happening, but then it's almost the end of the movie, and now I get this. It was too little too late. If you're into horror, you might like this, because this is a different take on the horror genre, the thriller genre, where it's mostly audio, but I don't think I'm going to be rewatching this for the reasons mentioned. As always, I have more movies here, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.